So we're gonna add high score to this game, and I just want to show it on the HUD here. And let's do it before we did it in the Angry Birds by just drawing text onto the HUD. Let's actually do it using Unreal's motion graphics system. So I want to show something on the HUD that's going to be what my score is. Because remember, it's like one score for every donut that you get per level. So like at level 1 you get 1, level 2 you get 2 points. So we'll move up from there. So we're going to make I showed you guys how to do UMG stuff with level selection in Angry Birds. Let's actually use it for the HUD. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go under user interface and click Widget Blueprint. I'm doing this in my blueprints folder. I kind of organize all my blueprint related stuff, including widget blueprints, in the same folder. So just create the same thing here. Yeah. And I'm going to call this UI underscore HUD, which is going to be the heads-up display. I'm just going to double click on it, and really I'm just going to put text in there. This text block is all I'm going to have. Let's do 2 text blocks. And actually, just to do it correctly, we're going to make a horizontal box first. The widget blueprint. The widget blueprint. Right click and go under miscellaneous or user interface and do a widget blueprint. So I was bringing a text box. First, put in a horizontal box, actually, because we want to show 2 things of text, one that says the word score, and another one that actually shows the score. And then not text boxes, but just text. And drag the text into the horizontal box. It's literally, it should be right above text.
I don't have that. It's in common.
Yeah, it should be in common.
And the blue area, that's the visible, the camera's visible view of the vision.
Sorry, which blue area?
The blue.
This blue?
Yeah.
This? Yeah. Sorry, the whole thing here. Yeah, this is essentially your screen.
So that's just the computer's visual.
Yeah. So John, did you add a horizontal box?
I added a horizontal box and then I dragged in text, but it turned into a text block.
Yeah, it says text block.
Yeah.
Click on your horizontal box here, make it wide enough, and just rename text block to be score : and drag another text block into there. Everyone's like super confused. I just dragged 2. One's going to be the score, and the other one's going to be that.
It just had like the hierarchy all wonky.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I think that's good now.
Yeah, it should look something like that.
Is that just the name of the block?
What are you trying to do?
Well, I did it.
Oh, you got to change it over here. And then do another text so you can show the text block.
We'll have to increase the.
Boy, what's over this row? Well, these should be under the same panel. And put them on the same horizontal. Well, the reason why you put them on the same horizontal panel is so they line up vertically. Add a panel into your scene. Just remember, anytime you're doing UI, you want it all in panels. So go down. Do horizontal box. And then I want you to drag each of these text boxes into the horizontal box. this text block here, we want to represent the actual score. Cool. So before we get to that, let's just show this thing on screen. Let's show this thing on screen when the game starts. So a HUD is always showing whenever level begins. So what we'll do is go to our character blueprint. So go under your blueprints folder and double click on my character and go to his graph. We're going to do it here because we want it to open when the character opens. So go to your character blueprint and add a new begin play event. And then we're going to create a widget. That's our HUD. Like that. So in this drop-down box, pick HUD. This thing here, John, is a create widget.
And then you selected.
And in this drop-down box, there's really only 3 selections, and really only UI HUD is the one that we made.
Copy is just not speeding me up fast enough.
Did you get to pick your HUD?
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing we need to do, we need to add it to the viewport. Because even though we made it, it's not being made visible. So we're going to drag a wire from the blue return value, type add to viewport. And now, when you play, in the top left corner, you'll see your score and text block. And what's cool is that you can visually edit and show whatever you want on this, and it'll be your HUD. Okay? You guys all got this? How you doing, Michael? Do you have this part, the widget? So we need to actually have the score be stored somewhere. We're going to store it into our game state.
So I've edited my text on there, and it won't show that in the game when it's playing. So it says score, and then text block. My text block should say lives. I'm not sure why it's
Did you type like lives in here? In here?
in the text. Yeah.
Like this?
Yes.
Did you compile and then play?
Didn't compile. Yeah, it's the compile.
Anyway, yeah, it's not going to be lives. So you get it, Michael?
Let me see.
Create widget and then add to viewport. Let me know if that works for you.
Lower text block.
Okay, cool. So we need to have the score somewhere, and the easiest place to put it is actually in our game state. So we made a game state in Angry Birds, but I'm going to go over it again because it might not be clear. Game state is like the most useful blueprint to put things in that store information like score and lives that are across players or enemies, things that are basically above what a player normally cares about. So if you double click on the My Game blueprint, so go to your blueprint folder and double click on My Game, and you'll see the defaults show up with this list of types of blueprints. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the game state class, and we're going to click the plus sign here to create a new blueprint for that. And I'm going to call this one Kaboom Game State. BP underscore Kaboom Game State. Yes, game state class. I clicked the little plus button next to the game state class. Okay. And all we're going to do is we're going to go to his graph in the game state class. And I'm going to add a new variable called score that's going to be an integer. let's just add, we're going to first of all do a couple things. We're going to make this thing editable. So I'm going to click this little eyeball here next to the score variable. That'll make it editable outside. And now we have some score. I'm just going to set it equal to 100 by default for now, just so I can prove that I can show it in the HUD. And then I'm going to go back, now that I have all this, I'm going to go back to my UI underscore HUD blueprint. So go ahead and edit that guy up. This thing here, that's the actual editor. So once you have this, click on the text block. That's where the actual score is going to go. And right there where it says text under content, this is where you normally type in like this. There's a little button to the right that says bind. We're going to create a binding. And this is really cool because this binding here lets us put whatever text we want in between these two purple nodes. So think of this like this is where you do your work to tell that little text block what you want to say. Notice here, this return value, this is the actual text. So our score lives on our game state. So we need to get our game state. We need to cast it to the correct thing. So right-click and type get game state. And then drag a wire and cast it to your Kaboom game state. Connect it up to the left purple node, like that. And then this wire, we're going to get the score. And we're just going to plug that directly into the return value. And that's it. And we plug that into we plug in the cast into the return node as well.
Is the score our variable that we made?
Yes, score is the actual variable that we made. So you should type get score, and you'll be able to, off the blue wire here, this blue wire, and you'll be able to get it. You just plug it in. And when you play, you should see the number 100 in your top left corner. And what's nice is that that score 100 is now always pulling from our game state. So if we change that score in the game state, when we pick up donuts, it'll automatically update the HUD. So go back to your falling object, because this is actually the thing that determines whether we picked it up or not. And if you go to your, open up your BP falling object blueprint, and at the bottom where you see the cast to my character here, next to the trigger volume component overlap, right after it plays the sound of the pickup cue, we're going to add some score to the game state based on the current level. Now, there's kind of an issue here. So I'll show you in a second. The level is kind of in a weird spot. Let's just see if we can add the score first. So off this wire, I could do all that stuff to get the game state and get the score. Kind of like, you know how in the HUD, how I did this? We want to do the same thing, and we want to get the score. But I want to do things, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a better way, the proper way to really interact with other blueprints. Go back and open up your game state blueprint. We're going to add a custom event here that takes care of all the score handling for us. So I'm going to say, right-click in my blueprint for my Kaboom game state. I'm going to type custom event. And all I want to say this custom event do is call add the score. Okay. And in add score, I'm just going to add 1 to the score. So this is actually just like how you add 1 everywhere else. Just take the score, add 1 to it, and plug it into the score. That's it. once we have this, now we can actually call this custom event on our game state. John, you got this?
Yep.
So go back to the falling object blueprint now.
Shouldn't we actually be adding the level?
We will in just a second. The problem is the level lives on the spawner, not in the game state.
Okay.
So go back to your falling object, and right after playing the sound, we're going to add the call to add score in here. So right-click in your blueprint. Don't drag a wire off of here because it won't actually get you the menu. Right-click and type get game state again. Get game state, drag a blue wire and cast it to your game state. This is exactly what we did in the HUD. Just in this thing here. So get game state, drag a wire and type cast. Yep. Connect that up to play sound. And then drag a blue wire off of this guy and type add score. And now when you pick up these donuts, it will add 1 every time you pick up a donut. And it'll update the HUD as well. Let's look at the top left here. Okay. So as Joey mentioned, the game Kaboom starts off at 0 score for 1. So let's go back and fix that. So you should reset your score to be 0 in your Kaboom game state. And this score that's added is actually equal to the level that you're currently on, not just 1. So level 1 gives you 1 point, but level 2 should give you 2 points per donut. So the problem is that the level currently lives on our spawner here. So at this point, I'd like to say that normally your level would live here in the game state. This is where we should have put it to begin with, but we've already gone too far, and so we're going to live with our transgressions, and we're going to just deal with the fact that the level lives on the spawner. And because of that, we have 2 different ways we can solve this problem. One, we can copy the level over from the spawner to the Kaboom game state so that every time we level up, we update the game state as well. Or we can just rip that level value out of the spawner and just stick it into here, which I think is the way we want to do it. We're going to do it that way because it gets us the most consistent results, and it's nice and easy to do right here. Okay.
So you just make a custom event?
We're going to do it because I just need to plug in something here. This green wire needs to be the level, right? So as long as I can feed it the level that lives in here, I'll be good to go. So how about this? Go here, drag a wire from this add score, and type get all actors of class. And then in that drop-down box, I want you to pick the spawner, the BP underscore spawner. This is going to find the spawner for us in the level. Oh, and make sure, go back to your spawner and make sure the little eyeball on his level variable is clicked to true. So, and compile, because you want this level, you're going to rip this level out of here, and you need to be able to see it. Okay, so go back and make sure this level is made public inside your spawner. All right, going back to your Kaboom game state, now that you have all the actors of class, drag a wire from the array of results and type get out of that array. Now this is going to be your spawner, and then type get level off that, and now you can plug it in. Okay, so I dragged a wire from here, I type get, which will get me the index at 0. I plug that in, and I type drag the wire off of that and type get level. And then that goes into how much score you're adding.
Okay, so you're getting the first one, the 0 index, because there is only one.
Yes.
Got it.
Get level to type.
Yeah, from here. If it's not showing up to you, Christian, make sure that your spawner has this eyeball checked. Okay. And then did you compile your spawner?
It's gonna be my next tattoo. Compile.
Compile. Always compile. So it starts at 0. You get 1 for each. Cool. Actually, I see a bug here. I'm getting 3 points, even though the. So what I need, you know, the problem is that we're leveling you up as soon as the last one has spawned, not after it starts moving again.
Yeah, I noticed on level 1 when it was all over, I had 13 points.
Yeah, we need to change this a little bit. We need to go to our spawner and double click on the level up macro on the left here. We actually need to not do this level up behavior until after delay has happened. Would you say, Christian? Does it look here? Did you do this? Get all actors of class? Did you, in this drop-down box, pick your spawner? Did you compile? Are you dragging a wire from here to do get? And then you drag the wire off there to do get level? And you pick your spawner? Okay, so go to your room to the state. Yeah. Try this. Try doing that thing.
My gates.
And then you grab that thing again. Like that. And then go to the wire. Okay, try to just plug that into the into that where it says the end. Okay. So a couple of things. We need to fix the fact that it's leveling up before you've collected the last one. It's kind of, we're kind of cheating our way around this a little bit, but it's fine. Go to your falling object. Go to your spawner. Go to level up. We just need to move this part where it's leveling up to happen after the delay has finished. So I'm going to disconnect here. This thing over here needs to be moved. So it happens at the end here. Like so. And that way you won't get your score increased until after everything's done spawning.
So it's gonna go set, output, right?
Set,
Yeah.
output. There's still, we might have to make sure the delay is long enough where it doesn't start moving again. Yeah, it's actually, I actually still got points. So I'm gonna increase the delay to be 3 seconds and then we should be good to go. Gives enough time for everything to kind of fall before we level up. There's 10.
What did you put between set and output?
I just moved the level up, adding 1 to the level, to the end.
Oh,
when you plugged in your level behavior, you made sure to reconnect the beginning here as well?
Everything was connected. When I went back, it was all clear. Never mind. I didn't see it. It was out of my window.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay. So let's save the high score.
We're too good for level 1.
Huh.
We're too good for that.
Well, not everyone's going to be that good, though. So let's save the high score, shall we? So we have the score. And let's add another thing on the HUD. I'm going to go back to the UI HUD, and I'm going to go add yet another text block and panel for for the high score. I'll just put it right below there. So I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste the horizontal box and drag it over here. I kind of want a vertical box here. It's kind of funny to think that. So go back to your designer, add a vertical box, and then drag your horizontal box into the vertical box. You're stacking things vertically, which is going to be, your high score is going to be stacked with your regular score.
So they're both scores.
Yes. Let's see, make sure this thing is here. Yep, so you have vertical box and a horizontal box. I'm going to copy the horizontal box and paste it. So the second thing is going to say high score. I think the high score should be on top. Let me know if you guys need any help setting up the high score one. It's just basically another horizontal box.
Do we put a horizontal box and a vertical box?
Yeah, so what I did is I just added a vertical box to it, and then I dragged my horizontal boxes inside of it. The reason for the vertical box is I want the high score and score to stack and line up correctly.
So I just put that in there and size it up.
You don't even need to size it.
Oh.
Just put it in there, and then I like to use a hierarchy view better than the actual visual view. Just go to your hierarchy view in the left side, and just drag the horizontal box into the vertical box there.
Oh, okay.
And you can reorder them by clicking on the little arrows. Move up and down.
Cool. Good.
You guys all got high score in there?
Why did you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
just so I can see what it looks like with actual numbers.
Yeah. Does your high score have another text block inside of it? This one?
You need another text block in there.
Okay. So we actually need high score to populate this thing with. So go to your game state. We have a variable for score. Let's add another variable for high score. And make sure it has a little eyeball next to it.
High
It's kind of rough copying pasting in here. Copy paste through the hierarchy view instead.
That's what I'm trying.
It should work a lot better. No, just copy the term. Don't copy the whole thing. Just copy the term. That horizontal box. Right click on the vertical box. Once you've done that, go ahead and go to your game state and add high score. I didn't get to show you guys this in UMG, but you can do cool things with it.
Oh, I just crashed.
Okay, you'll have to catch up then. Why don't you just watch, and then you can get the project afterwards. Okay,
Sounds like a really
go to your high score, make it visible. Go to your HUD and click on the text box where your high score would be, and click to the right of the text and create binding. Now you have a new binding here. And what you can do is you see at the top I have get text 0 and get text 1. We basically want to do exactly the same thing that this one does, except instead of regular score, we want high score. So I'm going to copy this, the nodes in between the purple ones. I'm going to copy those. And I'm going to paste them here. Connect them up. Only here, instead of score, I don't want that. Delete that and type get high score.
put a branch.
Nope, there's no branch needed for this.
But is the high score?
If you're saying the high score never changes, it's very astute.
No, I mean so that the high score doesn't get rewritten by a lower score.
So the thing is that there are two different text boxes. And so there's actually two different blueprints.
Oh,
This blueprint is only populating the score text, and this blueprint's only populating the high score text. Like each of these guys is each a different blueprint value.
so all I need to change is the score, right? To the high score?
Yep, that's it. So go to your graph and then off the blue wire here, John, type get high score instead. You should see it be at 0 and stay at 0.
My spawner is not moving the lights. Like sometimes
See
it's
the
the second
spawner?
spawner. I don't even see it. Just put your spawner. No, it's not. No connection. There's no connection at the end.
Okay. High score should be at 0 when you play, no matter how many you collect, because we don't actually update the high score. So what's the logic? What is the actual logic that occurs for high score? Like, how does high score work in a game?
Once you're done generating score, like when you're no longer adding to your score.
Yeah, well, actually, it's like whenever the score is greater than the high score, then you
Then it becomes the high score.
then it becomes the high score, right? So anytime you get score, as soon as it becomes higher than the high score, that becomes your new high score, right? Like you beat your old one. So we need to do that here. So whenever we add score, what we should do is right after we set the score, we should see if this score is greater than the high score, right? So that's a branch, right? So if this condition, what is the condition going to be here? Greater than,
high score.
score is greater than high score.
Or equal to. Won't make you feel better.
If score is greater than high score, what do we do?
Change the high score.
Change the high score to what?
Score.
Score.
Just
That's it. So there you go. Now, the high score will update whenever I score higher than that. Let's just set the high score value to be, oh, I don't know, 100 by default. So in the top left, you should see 100 is my high score, and it stays 100. And as soon as I get enough points, I don't know if I can do it, especially considering we have infinite lives right now.
And you can miss all the donuts you want until like the 50th level.
Yeah.
Just hit one.
Some of those donuts like disappear.
It's because they're hitting the side.
Yeah.
Almost there, dude.
Almost.
You can beat it.
There you go. And see how that high score is now going up? Cool.
Did your high score immediately start going up?
Well, I set the high score to be 100.
Oh, you already said it.
Yeah. Just something to, games will do that. Like, the default high score has to be something, otherwise it kind of like is meaningless.
How does it save high score between games?
I'm glad you asked. I'm about to show you that. Wow. When it lags like that, it has a really good chance of going off. Okay, so there's two things to saving and loading a high score. One is every time that I beat my high score, I need to write it out. I need to save that to a file that exists on my hard drive. And then every time that I start a new game, I need to remember what my high score was and set it back, right? So we have to do both of those things. So let's do both of them right here. Okay, let me just draw a box around all this and put a comment. And I'm going to call this score handling. Okay, so save games are kind of interesting because you can do all of it through Blueprint. And the nice part is that it's kind of really easy to set up. But you do always have to do both. You have to save and you have to load. So in order for us to save or load anything, we actually have to create the blueprint object that defines what we're saving. So go to your example map and go under blueprints and create a new class blueprint. Okay. Now expand all classes down here, and I want you to type save game. So make a new one. I'm going to call this guy BP underscore save game. And this blueprint is going to have 0 functionality inside this graph. This graph is going to remain forever empty. The only thing we care about here are the variables of what we want to save. So we're going to add a variable for every piece of data that we want to save. And really, we only want to save one thing right now, which is the high score. So I'm going to call this thing the saved high score. I'm going to add a new variable, and it's going to be an integer. And that's it. That's all we're going to do with this blueprint. For every other variable you ever want to save, you put it here. Let's say you want to save like player level, like the level that they were on when they died, or even things like customization preferences, like, oh, player entered his name, or like maybe we want to have like initials here, right? Player initials. We could also save that here as well. We're just going to do high score for now. Okay, once you have high score as an int, close that blueprint. You'll never open it again. Drag a wire. So right after we set the high score, we basically only want to save the game whenever you beat your old high score. And so in order for us to do that, we have to create a save game object. So if you type create save game object, right after you set the high score, in this drop-down box, we can pick our own save game. And then off the blue wire here, we can type save game to slot. Now, in this slot name, this name is actually really important. This is both the name of the file that lives on the hard drive, as well as what you're going to use to load that save game again. I'm going to call it Kaboom Save Data. And that's it. To test this, I'm going to lower my high score down to 50 because I really don't want to wait.
You don't have to like set any of the variables within that save data. It just kind of grabs everything.
Yeah, no, we will have to do that too. But I'm just going to show you that it creates something on disk. Once I beat my high score, I'm going to show you where it goes. I should really set my high score to be like 10, I think. I still haven't beaten it yet. Okay, there we go. And it goes away.
Just in time.
It's like I'm out. We still have to fix that. So that save game actually goes to a file that's on drive. Oh, what happened to that thing? Where does this thing live? That's actually really concerning. Well, I copied it, so I thought. Now I'm a little concerned. It should have been there. Hang on. I just want to make sure it's not in my... Oh, there it is. Right, so there's my save game. Can you guys see that? Like in your project folder, you'll have a saved save games folder. This is the file that gets created when I save the game. So I'm just going to keep that open on the side. And then let's just make the high score like 5 to start. And what you'll see is that there's no file there, right? As soon as I hit 6, there's the save file, right? Okay, so it's making this file for me when I hit the...
It's making it, right? It's actively making it?
It's actually making it, yeah.
Like it's continuously making it until you're done.
Well, it's not actually, it only makes it the...
Does it just save it at 5, or does it save it at whatever number you end on?
It saves it every time you beat it. So it saves it at 5 and at 6, and it's, yeah, it keeps overwriting itself every time. So it's basically an autosave. It automatically saves every time. So it's not actually saving, it's creating the file, but we haven't actually set the high score yet. Because remember, our blueprint actually has a variable that we have to set. So in between these two guys, we're going to grab this guy. Oh, I lied when I said we didn't open it. We have to make that a saved high score variable public if you didn't do that. So go back to your blueprints, go to your save game, click the little eyeball here. I totally lied. You need to click that eyeball so you can actually set the saved high score. And then you can drag this and do a cast. Hang on, I'll slow down. Yeah, make this thing visible in your save game state. Then go back to your game state, drag a wire off this guy and do a cast. So that cast. And drag a wire off this guy and do set saved high score. Just going to drag your high score on top of that guy. And this gets plugged in between. Yep. Yep. And then make sure all your execution wires are connected in series, like correctly. Now, we won't be able to tell that it did this correctly until we try to load this save game. Okay? So let's do that right now, and then we'll call it for the class. You got this, John? Yeah. Okay. So right above this, I'm going to make a new event for begin play. Because right when we create this object, we're going to load the save game off a disk. So on event begin play, we're going to load game from slot. And the slot name is the name of the file that you wrote down here. Yeah. Once you have this with the slot name correct, make sure that these two are matched up exactly, otherwise it won't work. Drag a blue wire, cast it again to your save game. Then drag a blue wire here, get the saved high score. This is a high score that's been written to disk. Then we can take our high score, plug that in like that. So we're taking the high score that we wrote out to disk, and we're changing our current high score to be equal to that. Now as a test, when I play, my high score is 0, because that's what got written out to disk originally. But if I just stop it at any time, so it's at 7, I close it. If I play again, high score should be 7. Now there's actually some persistence, right? Now you can actually beat your old high score. So you can see how you could also save the top 10 high scores. It's pretty much the same exact way. Instead of one high score, you'd have an array of high scores. So if I close it and then restart, hey, 48 now. Is your load game, is it starting off at 0?
Yeah, it starts off at 0, and then whenever I build it up a little bit, and then I go back in, and the high score is 0 again.
My guess is that you don't have this part here.
The set the civic high score. Was that considered targeted? Yeah. See how those aren't connected at all? See that execution wires are coded?
This goes to here, and this goes to here.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll put this project up. So the homework is, and I'll let you guys go after this. The homework is that if you miss 3 donuts, you lose the game. So restart the level.
So give him lives.
You already don't know how to do. How about if you miss 1 donut, you lose the game too? Restart the level.
You get lives based on the score and
Well, see, it sounds more complicated when you start talking about lives and this and that.
Yeah, well that's why I'm not saying lives. We'll just say
all
if you
you would
miss a
do-
donut, restart the level.
How do you do lives?
and then that.
Okay, so that would be on the following object, in my opinion, with the.
Yeah, if you miss one, if
So
you miss
where it goes to destroy actor,